Good morning, Krusty crew. It is time for the wake up call with myself and Alex. It is March 12th, 2025, and we got a banger for you guys.
All right, banger. I'm a 7 out of 10 today. You didn't
7
ask,
out of
but
10, better than last time. I think you were a 3 out of 10. You were in the
something
slumps
like
the
that.
last time. But Alex is feeling good because U.S. inflation falls to 2.8%, lower than expectations. We, of course, know that that's not real inflation, but that's what they're calling it. And that's all that matters.
Yes. The number that they call inflation is 2.8%. The expectations were 2.9%. And is this bullish? I've been thinking about this out loud. It the bullishness in this is that it accelerates potential rate cuts. Um, what would lead to inflation falling to 2.8% is the question that I'm asking in my mind, and it's a lot of the slashing that has been happening with the Department of Government Efficiency, with the Trump administration. And so I don't think this is a true sign that inflation is actually coming down, but more of a sign of just of cuts happening. So hey, you know what? We'll take beating
Beating
expectations.
expectations is
So
good. The number that they call inflation is good, which to me, I mean, how they measure inflation is the most fraudulent thing that has ever existed. But, you know,
pretty much.
and I think you know, it's the classic case of the predator and the prey, and I'm very much convinced that the apex predators know well in advance what the numbers are going to be well before we do. Um, so
Yeah.
that's a hill that I'm willing to die on, and there's nothing that can change my mind on that. But it's a good sign for until the next time, I guess. Find out next time on Dragon Ball Z. Oh,
Until
Senator
next time.
Loomis reintroduces the proper Bitcoin Strategic Reserve Bill, the one that we all know and love, and the one that where the United States buys 1 million Bitcoins.
Okay, Senator Loomis. I'm not surprised that Senator Loomis would be in favor of something like that, or would propose something like that. She's been a longtime supporter of Bitcoin, of the United States being a leader in Bitcoin, and
Yeah,
so no surprise,
no
no surprise at
surprise.
all with that.
I've made a video yesterday and also talking about this. I actually think by the time that they pass this, it's going to be the top. It's probably going
I
to be
wouldn't
a
be
good
surprised.
solid 6 months before this actually, they're going to swindle in 17 bazillion other things with every single congressional member and every constituent, and they're going to swing all this stuff in. It's going to take them a good bit of time to get passed, and in my opinion, it's probably going to be the top. So, but long term, it's a good thing. Russia central bank allows limited crypto investments. I mean, Russia doesn't have that big of an economy, but it's just, it's something.
Okay, it's something. Yeah, cool, man. Russia, good job, Russia.
All right, let's play everybody's favorite game of bull or bear. All right, the 4-year cycle is over. Bull or bear?
I don't know what to say. Bull or bear? I am not a believer in the 4-year cycle. And so I'm a believer in cycles, in monetary cycles. I'm a believer that the Bitcoin halving has an effect on the price of Bitcoin, a positive effect. So I guess I'm a bull, but on that statement. But the cycle has never existed in my mind. It's just a big coincidence with money flow. So what do you think?
Well, I think there's something to the cycle in that it's economics 101. Supply equals price plus or price equals supply plus demand. And every 4 years with the halving, the Bitcoin's inflation gets cut in half, which has an effect. So that's
Yes.
In effect, that's
In
right.
effect.
I personally, I definitely consider the 4-year cycle, but I'm not married to it forever. However, the cycle that I am married to, till death do us part, is the 7-year cycle until proving otherwise. So that's the one I put more weight into, and that's why I think whatever sort of economic storm is brewing, it's going to, in my opinion, they're going to kick the can down the road until 2029, and that to me is when they can no longer kick it down the road. So I think that there's fundamentally things broken in the economy, but it's going to take a while to manifest itself, is what I think. But yeah, 4-year cycle. Um, the way that we know it, I think that sooner or later it will end. I don't know if it's this time yet, so we'll see how 2025 shapes out.
All right.
All right. ETH will outperform Bitcoin in 2025. Are you a bull or bear the rest of 2025? Bull or bear on that?
Whew. Oh man. I'm gonna say bull. I guess I'll say bull. I just Bitcoin doing a doubling from here seems on the upper end of what I would expect, like the very high end of that, whereas ETH is in the trash. And so ETH doubling would still not be an all-time high. So, if you're going to force me, I will say yes, bull to
Yeah,
that
I would agree.
statement.
I think that Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin for the rest of 2025. 138 is my medium case for Bitcoin. That's been my target for a while. I think that's the highest um, probability that Bitcoin goes to. But you can talk me into 207,000 is my most bull case. But either way, like you said, Ethereum doubling from here is not even an all-time high, and I do think that Ethereum gets to 7,000. So I do think that Ethereum, um, even though I'm not a huge fan, will outperform Bitcoin in 2025.
All right.
All right, bull or bear? Bitcoin is actually a hedge against inflation.
Yeah, I'm definitely a bull on that statement. It's just we need to think in terms of time frames, because we saw what happened in 2021. The CPI report in November of 2021 came in exceedingly hot. And so shouldn't Bitcoin have pumped when that happened? And in November 2021, when that CPI report came in over 6%, that was the end. It was over because we knew exactly what that meant. If there's no Federal Reserve, if the Federal Reserve does not exist, then Bitcoin would have skyrocketed on that news. But because of the market being what it is, we have this thing that plays itself out. All right, if inflation gets too hot, short term, the Federal Reserve is going to take action to cause that to come down, which is going to introduce a lot of pain and a lot of risk off activity. So if you're talking on a 5-year or 10-year or longer time frame, then Bitcoin is definitely a hedge against
Yes.
inflation. There's no arguing
I
that.
agree. I am a bull in this statement. Now, Bitcoin cryptocurrency in general is the most volatile asset. And, for every yen, there's a yang. Nothing in life is free, right? So, what is the cost of having the highest performing asset over the last 15 years, which Bitcoin has been? The cost of that is volatility. So, is it a great hedge against inflation over the next 3 weeks? No, it's not. Is it a great hedge against inflation over the next 3 months? Probably not. But is it a great hedge against inflation over the next 3 decades? I would say yes, it is. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, overrated, underrated. The Bitcoin ETFs, overrated, underrated.
Oh my goodness. Okay. I told normally we run through these beforehand, and I told Devin, hey, you know what? We're going to start in a couple minutes, and I don't even know. I didn't know what was coming. Overrated or underrated? They're not over. I can't say overrated with the Bitcoin ETFs. There's no way. So if I'm forced to choose one, I'm going to say underrated. I mean, my goodness, the level of accumulation with these ETFs, it's pretty much exactly, what everything that we had hoped it would be. That's what's happening. That's how it's playing itself out. So what do I say? For sure underrated. I mean, this is a lot more. It's a lot more accumulation of Bitcoin, a lot more, making it more scarce. So
Yeah,
for
for
sure.
me, so if you're asking me personally, is this overrated, underrated? For my personal investment, this is very overrated, and I will never buy a Bitcoin ETF, most likely. But in
Okay.
the grand scheme of things, this is very
Yeah.
underrated for what it does. And I talked about this the other day. If you would have told me in 2022, when me and you were one of like 5 people who were bullish out of 8.8 billion on planet Earth, if you would have told me in 2022 that, hey, Ski, in 2025, you're going to have BlackRock buying Bitcoin ETFs, all these other institutions, MicroStrategy buying Bitcoin with their ETFs. You're going to have governments, they're going to publicly hold it and they're not going to sell. You're going to have regulation coming from crypto. I would have said pinch me, or regulation as far as like the
Yeah.
state strategic reserves. I would have said pinch me. I'm dreaming. This couldn't possibly be true in our wildest dreams. But here we are. So,
Yeah.
all right. See you in 2028. The bear market's here. Pack it up, boys. See you in 2028.
That is the most overrated statement you could possibly say. And listen, I'm going to share some things during this live stream that if you're expecting 2025 to still be a year where all these amazing things happen, I think we can see all-time highs still in 2025. I think we will for Bitcoin and for the total three at least. But this idea that it's see you in 2028, it's absurd. It is absurd. You guys, you went into this year, 95% of you went into this year thinking that January 1st, everything was going to shoot off like a rocket. And now that it hasn't, you're overcorrecting and going in the other direction, and saying that, all right, well, we didn't have it didn't happen. So now we're going to crash 90% and see you in 2028. It's over. You need to broaden your horizons. You need to if everyone was thinking that January of 2025 was going to be the start of this massive bull run, you know what the market's giving you? The market will give you a kick in the. I was about to say something that might have gotten myself banned on TikTok. Okay, a kick in a sensitive area. Okay, and so let's adjust to the market. The market for us to now go down 90% in our altcoins from where they are now, it's absurd.
Well,
But
and even
okay,
like I just made a video, top 5 reasons why the bear market has not started, and these were all like data. Nothing about it was emotions or feelings. It was the 50-week moving average, the 2-week 20 EMA. You have to cross that. Bitcoin dominance. The bull market doesn't end with Bitcoin dominance being on a straight line tear. The Bitcoin doesn't bull run doesn't end with fear and greed being at 15. All these things, right? But even if I was dead wrong, this idea that there's just nothing but down for 4 straight years, I would argue the best gains that were had actually was from 2022 till 2023. You know what I mean? Like Bitcoin did a 4x. There was a lot of coins that performed very well during that time. So I would argue like, and this isn't even just true for one cycle. Like you always get a retracement of sorts in the middle of it, and there's still lots of money to be made in the middle of it. And you want to be accumulating when it's boring, anyways. But I don't even think that it's pack it up time, personally.
yeah, me
All
neither.
right. Overrated, underrated. US dollar hyperinflation. Yes.
Hyperinflation.
It's misspelled.
Okay. Yeah, that's overrated in terms of what people think that looks like. And I'll tell you from my perspective, I remember getting into the brand of economics that I very strongly believe in around 2010, shortly after the great financial crisis, and thinking, oh, hyperinflation, it's coming, any day now, any day now. This is in 2010. And yeah, we're seeing a level of inflation that is very uncomfortable right now, ever since COVID. And even though we have this pretend number of 2.8%, we all know that it's way worse than that, way worse than what it was before COVID. But when we're defining terms here, hyperinflation is something that we still have not seen in the United States, at least, and I don't think we're going to see anytime soon. Not the word, again, not the word that when people are picturing hyperinflation, they're picturing, what is it, Weimar Germany in the 1920s. That's not
Yeah,
imminent.
I would agree. I am, one of the biggest haters of the US dollar, known to man.
Yeah,
I do not believe in our fiat system. I do not believe in it. I think it enslaves regular people. And I think it's corrupt, and I think it's evil, all of these things. But hyperinflation, where you go into a restaurant and you pay your bill before you eat so that the price doesn't go up, type things, I don't think is ever going to happen.
yeah,
What it's more like is it's more like boiling a frog with room temperature, and then you raise the heat and the frog doesn't notice. That's really what it's more like.
yeah,
It's more like how we see the DXY going up, even though all of the currencies are going down in value.
100%.
All right, it's time for the charts. Oh,
Okay. I guess yes, I will go first. Okay, I'm just going to warn you guys. Ski and I are probably. I'm going to share some things that I would say we're going to disagree on, and I wrong. Listen, right now I'm a bull. I am a bull. The other day, 2 days ago, two friends texted me and said that one asked me should he sell his Bitcoin. The other one told me he sold his Bitcoin, and that was at $76,000. And I was like, this has to be the bottom. It has to be. And here we are. We've gotten up to 84,000 today, and we're at 81 and change. I think we will soon make our way up to the 90s, whether it's this week or next week or whenever. I don't know, but I think soon. So the chart that I'm sharing with you now is my thoughts on what the S&P 500 is going to look like for the rest of the year. And if you're on TikTok, I'm sorry, you're not going to be able to see this. You can head on over to YouTube, your boy Ski, or World War Bitcoin. But the S&P 500, I believe, has, well, it's clear, it's broken some bullish market structure here. It's put in a lower low, and I believe that the S&P has peaked for 2025. That it's reached a local top, not pack it up, see you in 2028, but reach a local top. And what we have next, now I am on the SPY chart. It correlates pretty much 100% with the S&P 500. I think what we have next is a move up to $6,000 in the S&P, or 600, or less than 600 in the SPY, and that's going to be a lower high from its all-time high. And then for the rest of the year, we're going to put in a series of lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs. And at some point, I'm not saying years, I'm saying months, at some point we're going to see a reversal, a bottoming out of the S&P, just like what we saw in 2021, at end of 2021, early 2022, where the S&P 500 peaked. Now, the question is, because we're not talking about stocks on these channels, these are not stock channels, what does that mean for crypto? And I laid that out in a video on my YouTube channel yesterday. And my personal opinion is that we can, and I think medium confidence will hit a new all-time high for Bitcoin, and medium confidence will hit a new all-time high in the total altcoin market cap, minus Ethereum, the total 3. I'm not as convinced on the total 2 because of Ethereum, and that we can see that there is money to be made. And all right, if this is depressing to you, you don't want to hear any of this. Where, again, with my projection as to where we are right now, we're up. We're the direction for the next month or 2 months is up. All right, and so if I'm wrong, and if the S&P 500 hits a new all-time high, the total altcoin market cap goes crazy. We just go parabolic in the total altcoin market cap. XRP to $8, Ethereum to $10,000, something like that. I'm going to follow the lead of the market. I'm going to let the market lead me. And when I see signs of weakness in the market, that's when I'm going to sell, whether it's before a new all-time high for altcoins or Bitcoin, or long after a new all-time high for that. So this is where I stand for now. As far as my entries, I am still more so long or shorting than longing. I am waiting for the total altcoin market cap to, at the very least, break its downtrend, which it hasn't. The total three had a few days last week where it was looking good, but it didn't. I am waiting for the total two, at the very least, to break its downtrend, and then I will be more of a buyer of altcoins. Although, if you bought on Monday, I think you bought at a fantastic time. So congratulations to you. And I will yield the floor to Devin.
That's what I said when I was live on Monday. Someone was asking me, was like, I got 60K. Should I wait for lower? And I was just like they say in the army, smoke them if you got them. You know what I mean? It's like now or never. But okay, so this is what I've said, and I've given like a best case scenario and a worst case scenario in my, like, what is the probability, not like in a world of where meteors strike Earth and dinosaurs invade and all this stuff, but in a realistic world, the realistic probability of best case scenario, worst case scenario, and either way for Bitcoin, for me, the next move, either if we are worst case scenario basically is you were correct all along. Um, and 2025 is not going to be as hot. And 2026 is going to be good.
Yeah. Wait,
But
let me remind everybody real quick. I am a mega bull for 2026 and 2027 or 2027.
Yes.
So, okay.
Yes. But either way, and then best case scenario is I was correct. And that's it. It doesn't matter about the prices or the charts. It's just who was right, who was no. I'm just kidding. But that's best case scenario. Is it's a continuation, and this is a bear trap, so to speak. But either way we go, and then my thesis was correct that we're going to make all time highs for Bitcoin, make all time highs for the total three, etc. And I'm with you with Ethereum. Ethereum doesn't look as hot, even though we said earlier that we thought it would outperform Bitcoin. But either way we go, the next move for Bitcoin is a retracement, and then that's going to be the decider.
Yeah.
Is like getting to $97,000. The decider to me is going to be, are we going to back test 85, probably in all probability 85, and then go higher? Is that going to happen? Or are we going to 97 and then rolling over?
Yeah.
And I've talked about this with, on my live streams, some of the altcoins that I have where I don't have as high of a conviction. By the way, during this time, I do think that the altcoins, and we're kind of seeing it now, like I do think that the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin. I pulled up the wrong thing. It's okay. I do think that the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin during the same time. Where did my damn chart go? Here we go. Sorry. I put up I forgot I wasn't doing this. I do think that the altcoins are going to outperform Bitcoin during that time. And I think it is either way you go. If you're overexposed, you're over leveraged, I think it's a good time to de-risk a portion of some of your altcoins during that time as an insurance policy. That Alex is correct. And I think worst case scenario, if you are correct, I could see 50s for Bitcoin. That's what I could, the absolute worst, but in all likelihood, it's probable like high 60s, low 70s. But I do lean more towards like this is a bear trap right here. And there's a few reasons why, because I made the video, the bull market is not over. And here's why. The major things that I'm looking at is this right here. So this red line is the 2-week exponential moving average, the 2-week 20 exponential moving average. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for us to be in a confirmed bear market, not only do you need to crack below this, but you have to crack below this and then back test it as resistance. And right now we haven't even cracked below it. this yet. And there was one other time that we cracked below it, and it was not a bear market. But when we broke back above it, we back tested as support and not resistance. So that's the number one thing that I'm looking at, as well as the 50-week moving average, which you've talked about. If we start getting uh, closes below that, that's not going to be good. But we haven't gotten that yet. And also the things that I'm looking at is Bitcoin dominance, is one of the main factors too. Like, bull runs do not end with fear being in the teens and with Bitcoin dominance being at what I think is distribution. They would end at, I'm not saying we're going to 20 or 30, but at least to the 50s, somewhere in there, is what I think. So this to me is not how a bull market ends right here. So, so I'm definitely leaning heavily towards my thesis,
Yeah.
and I'm not a believer in the stock market. And I've said that I have way less conviction in the stock market than I do in cryptocurrency and in Bitcoin. But either way we go, the next move is Bitcoin going to $97,000, and we're either going to back test and go higher, or we're going to roll over. Either way we go, I think that's a good opportunity to de-risk some things that you're overexposed on during that time, because I do think that the altcoins during that time, either way, are going to outperform Bitcoin.
Yeah, so we are 100% aligned short term, and there's a lot of it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of support below and a lot of resistance above. I mean, okay, you pulled up my chart. I wasn't planning on talking about that. I mean, so a lot of resistance above, a lot of support below. We have the 50-week moving average, which I have talked about that as the make or break point. I would say if we see a weekly close below the 50-week moving average, then the direction after that is lower. Devin says, worst case scenario, $50,000. I'm sorry to say that, we talked about this a lot. I think it's more going to be more like 30,000 if it's over for if 108 was the peak local top. Okay, so but in the short term, I mean, it's going to be really interesting to see who wins this battle, because ton of support below the 50-week moving average, the previous all-time high, which we could, if it was, we could still be bullish and wick down to around the early 2024 all-time high, and then the resistance above, where I'm telling you, there's a lot of people who are going to be eager to short Bitcoin when it gets up to the levels that Devin's talking about. So where do we go from there? We'll just have to wait and see. I would love it if there was some mega bullish catalyst that would send us higher. Not that we need that, but something that would allow us to break through those mid 90 ranges. But personally, I mean, I have a great deal of confidence that we will see the 90s at the very that's what's next. That's what's coming, and then we'll see about after that.
Yeah, and I think we're in agreement on short term, and that's going to be the decider. And that for sure is where I'm going to let the market lead me. Like, I have my thesis both laid out, and I'm going to take action either way we go, so that either way that we go, I'm going to be in a good position. Because even if it's the bull case, like de-risking, like, guess what? You're going to have a pullback. You know what I mean? And if it's bear case, well, you de-risked and you still have an insurance policy of, a moon bag, so to speak, if it goes higher. The reason that I want to talk about the 30K a little bit, because I think that this could be good. The reason that I disagree with this, and I talked about this on my live stream, because you're not the only one that is saying this. The reason that I disagree, and I'll see what you think. I think there's 5 like key components. Structurally, I'm not going to say it's impossible, but I'm just going to call everything improbable. Structurally, I think it's improbable, and I'll talk about each one of those. Fundamentally, I think it's improbable. Technically, I think it's improbable, and then tokenomics wise, I think it's improbable as well. So let's start with tokenomics. And do I have my chart or your chart? I think I have your chart.
Yeah,
and
mine
I'll
is
and I'll
showing right
give
now.
I'll give you. We're gonna do a live debate here. It's
Okay.
impromptu. Okay, so last time we were at 30K was in October of 2023, and just think about what was going on during October of 2023. So, from a fundamental perspective, there was no. We talked about how bullish the Bitcoin ETFs are.
Yeah.
Um, that wasn't a thing back then. There was not institutions buying. There was no state governments buying. There was no, none of that was a thing. And from a tokenomics perspective, that wasn't a thing. And this was like in the depths of despair. That was at 30K because this was right after the war in Ukraine started. The inflation was double on Bitcoin
Yep.
during that time. So I think it's improbable from that perspective. And then when we look at what generally happens is you typically go to the prior all-time high, and Bitcoin's done that a few times. Even last time, you would say that the all-time high was 20, but I would say the base of the move was exactly where it went to, $16,000. Um, and then also from a technical perspective, that's a lot that we got to get through. What is that? 1,500 days if you count all of this over here. So you got 400 days right here plus 260 days of support to get through it. I mean, it's possible, but I don't. I hope that I'm wrong, by the way, because I'll be selling my truck, and I'll be selling all of my possessions because even at 30K, my conviction does not change on Bitcoin. But
Bitcoin
yeah,
could go
that's
to
why.
sorry, Bitcoin could go to $2,000 and my conviction would not change on Bitcoin.
Yeah,
So all right, I understand all that. And I mean it is I have said, I mean the 50 to $60,000 bottom, bear market bottom, it's a compelling argument to be made for that given the price history where we've been. Now, the thing that I would say in response to that is that we have existed in the entirety of Bitcoin's existence in one paradigm, and that paradigm has been zero, no recessions, zero economic um, major issues aside from the week that we had a recession during the COVID crash, and then insane money printing after that. And so I'm sticking to one argument instead of your five. So I think if there were a moderator of this debate, they would give you the win. I fully acknowledge that. We are entering, I believe, potentially a new paradigm where Bitcoin enters a recession in the stock market, where the not Bitcoin enters a recession, where the global economy enters a recession. And we have not yet functioned in Bitcoin's entire history in that scenario. So I think that yes, that it would break through all of that and get down to about $30,000, maybe even lower. But we'll see.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. Truly,
I hope you're right.
truly, I hope that you're right. Um, I would say to that too is like I know in 2022 they changed what the definition of a recession is.
Yes,
Like but
we did experience a recession in
we
2022.
had a recession in
And look at what
2022.
happened. So my counter argument to that is look at what happened. Bitcoin went from $45,000 to 15,000.
Yeah, but it was on top of that's what I said in over here. It's like this is the base of the top right here. Like this is the wick. But when you
Yeah.
look at like where I mean if I go on the weekly, like it's on top of the highest weekly candle is where we went to. So I don't
Yeah.
know.
Fair point.
That's but I hope you're right. I hope you're right, but I respectfully disagree. Yeah, that was the funniest thing that was like during 2022 is they were like, well, economists have many definitions as to what a
Yeah.
recession is, and it's hard to put our thumb on it. It's like it's not actually for 100 years. It's been two GDP quarters at a loss, and that's what we had.
Hey,
Um,
congrats to Joe Biden, man. First president to never experience a recession. That's a props to him.
Problem, it's like it's the trend traders, you know. If
Yeah.
it breaks your trend, all you got to do is just move the line and you're good to go. It's like the problem solved.
I never did that. That's a joke.
Problem solved. Trend is your friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do we got? Any you want to respond to some questions?
I haven't. Thoughts on March 19th Fed meeting?
They're not going to lower rates. I say that with, I mean, the CME Fed Watch puts it at 97% chance that they're not going to lower rates. So even with, you know, we did see a lower than expected inflation, which is a contributing factor, a bullish contributing factor at least. Lower, you know, inflation. So what can we expect from that Fed meeting? I don't think there's anything. I think it's going to be a big nothing burger. Really, I don't think there's anything that's going to come from that that would be bullish or bearish. I mean, they're not going to raise rates. I can say that with even more certainty. They're not going to lower rates. They're probably not going to put an end to quantitative tightening. So, I mean, of those things, the thing that would be most likely would be that they would put an end to quantitative tightening, which would be short-term bullish. But I very highly doubt that they're going to do that. So,
Yeah, this is why I am not a fan of trading options short term other than leaps. Because and there's a point to this and it's related. Because what the market expects in order for you to be successful trader of options, you must not only be correct, but you have to be more correct than what the market expects you to be. And the thing is, over a long enough time period, the market is always correct and it knows. And so the fact that it's at 96% tells us everything that we need to know. I've never seen the market be wrong ever, not once. So yeah.
yeah.
Will memes do some retracement, especially year two, Solnick and Hee Hee? Yeah, my conviction for Solnick and Hee Hee are my top meme plays, and I don't even know that they're memes anymore. But I do think we will have another meme rally. Yeah, Solana is getting beaten down, which is hurting a lot of memes right now.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I mean, we both are in the camp that Bitcoin's going to hit a new all-time high. And we saw, you know, I wasn't monitoring Solnick the day of that Trump market manipulation that Sunday a couple weeks ago, but I mean, he rose for a brief period by 50% that day, and Solnick, I'm sure, did something similar. And so, what happens when the market turns in our favor? And that's with zero promotion on our ends on that day, at least. You know, when the market turns in our favor, they're going to do very well.
Yeah, there's nothing. I wish that people would, if you could just learn one thing from me, it would be this one thing. There is nothing like price to change how people feel about something. We could have the most bullish news known to man, and if Bitcoin drops below $78,000, people are not going to feel good about it. And we could have the worst news known to man, and if Bitcoin makes a new all time high, people are going to feel amazing. There's
Yeah.
nothing in this world that changes the way that people feel about something like price.
Yes. 100%.
Um, can we DCA into alts?
Personally, I mean, I am not DCing into alts right now, uh, but I always get a lot of disagreement on that, and I do think that we are that Monday was the bottom. That we will not go lower than that until $90,000 or a little higher than $90,000 for Bitcoin. And so, do with that information what you will. This is just how I operate. If you take that information, let's say that's how it plays itself out, it makes sense to DC into alts at this moment, but that's just not how I function.
Well, I would say, yeah. So you have to kind of understand like where Alex is versus where you maybe are. Alex does this full time, and he looks at charts and he trades and he does this full time. And I would say for the average Joe, I think that DCing is the best strategy. I think that you should, for the average Joe, do your due diligence up front into coins that are good fundamentally with low to no inflation, aka good tokenomics. And I think DCAing takes the emotional warfare out of the game. Both of Alex and I are in agreement that the next move is up. So I think for you, it's a deeper question. Like, what do you have that you can stand to be without for the next 3 years? If it's like 3 weeks, or if it's like you're messing with your rent money, the answer is absolutely no. But if you can afford to be on the sideline with something for 3 years, that should be your time horizon, because crypto, um, at no point in time, if you would have bought Bitcoin for and held it for 3 years, would you be in the red. So that should be your minimum time frame. And if that's your time frame, then I would say yes.
All right.
I know that I'm not trading. I put this out. I am not trading until the
Yeah.
16th.
Okay. Specific date. What's today? The 12th.
This 12th. So
So
tomorrow's the blood moon. The last
yeah.
blood moon that we had was when FTX went to zero. So
Okay. All right.
I'm not messing around. I'm not getting liquidated, because I think that people are going to get got both ways, up and down. I think that there's going to be lots of volatility, and I'm going to let this sort of window of opportunity, you might say, pass, and I'll be looking for spot buys, spot dips. And then when we get into like the 16th, 17th, I'll start trading again.
Yeah. I'm very hesitant. So I am in a few shorts that I opened when Bitcoin got to the 200-day moving average. It got up to $83,500. That's where about the 200-day is. But I'm looking to close those like today. I'm very hesitant. I don't want to go to bed with a single long or short open, which I did last night, and I regret it because just added stress. So my trades are like our trades if a certain cryptocurrency gets up to a specific level, for a short or a long. I have some limit orders open on longs as well. So it's just a matter of like where I think the value is.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I'm a value investor more than anything. Is I just look for values, risk to reward. But yeah, I'm being very abundantly cautious. I don't live in fear. Fear and caution are not the same thing. I think fear is your enemy and caution is your friend. And right now, I have an abundance of caution,
Yeah,
especially with trading for the next few days.
in both directions.
Both directions. That's right. I'm not longing or shorting. I'm just going to let this window pass, and then I'll look for opportunities.
Yes.
Will the dollar keep getting weaker? Will countries start selling bonds, making it weaker, thus causing the same effect as rate cuts?
Um, I mean, sure, anything's possible. It's really interesting. I mean, thinking about what's going on with the DXY right now. I mean, I'll pull up my chart. Um, it, I don't know how to operate in this environment. This is new to me. Seeing the DXY basically over the last I mean, really the last 9 months being perfectly correlated, not perfectly, but very much correlated to Bitcoin. When did the DXY peak? It peaked in on January 11th, and Bitcoin had that scam wick up to 109 on January 20th, and then it's been going down, and Bitcoin's been going down. I don't know. Like I guess the answer to this question is I'm sorry, I just don't know what to make of this. Do you have any thoughts, Devin?
Specific, specifically with the DXY, I put out a tweet the other day, and just talking about the stock market's crashing. Bitcoin was crashing. This was like before we had our rebound, obviously. And the DXY is all crashing at the same time. And I said one of them is lying.
Yeah.
And my guess is that the DXY is telling the truth. So that's where I'm hedging my bets and I'm taking cautious action. If I'm wrong, like I said on the retrace, I'll be looking to de-risk some of my altcoins. But yeah, that's my bet that the DXY is telling the truth. This idea that countries, specifically to John's question, this idea that countries will coordinate and actively sort of attack the dollar, and that would have a secondary effect of basically being like rate cuts. I think that's been happening since 2022. There's been an active attack on the U.S. dollar from other countries. So yeah, like whoever has the most powerful currency controls the world, and that's basically what it really is. And that's kind of like bleak and dark, and
Yeah.
there's wars that are fought over this, and there's a documentary called All Wars Are Banker Wars. And I would agree. I cannot think of a single war that was fought that did not come back to the Federal Reserve and to money. But yeah, I think that this is actively happening. The idea that it would have the same effect as rate cuts, I'm not so sure, because I'm not a fundamental. I'm not a fundamentalist like that. But that's an interesting thought experiment.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Can parabolic bull market prices transfer to 2026 if necessary by the end of this year? Yeah, that's what Alex's main thesis is. And
Yeah.
I
That's been my thesis for a while.
and I'm
But
I'm
what are you?
definitely open to that possibility. That's my worst case scenario.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm definitely open to that possibility. And I've
So
said this 100 times too. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. I'll say what I'm going to say after that.
I've said this 100 times too. It's like time is real for us. Time is real, because we want to get a boat, or we want to put our daughter through college, or we want to pay off debt, or get a new house, or whatever. And time is real for us. But here's the deal: time is not real for Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So the idea that it has to forever stick to the 4-year cycle, Alex never believed in it. I don't think that that's true. It's not real for crypto. It's only real for us.
Yeah. It's just, it's the thing that I've been saying. So I did believe I was a big believer in the 4-year cycle in 2021. And then I got humbled big time. Because I was one of the 99% of people who thought that Bitcoin was going to go over $100,000. And so as I was thinking through, like trying to learn my lessons from 2021, it was one of those things I looked at a wide variety of things, and I came to this conclusion that there are other factors other than the halving, which is a conclusion that everyone should make because that's just true, that there are other factors. And so the timeline is not something that I'm married to, as far as it must peak by the end of this year. I am much more of a mindset that just with the flow of cycles, of money cycles, not the Bitcoin cycle, that the probability of us reaching a period of euphoria during a 4-year window is very high. And so that's been the thing that I've been sticking with this whole time. And then looking at broader economic things, uh, just thinking where would we have something like COVID, where not the COVID crash, but where there's rates are at zero, or rates are much lower than where they are right now. There's an intense money printing. My thought has always been that seems to be more aligned with 2026 or end of 2025, early 2026. That the money printing that would be a perfect environment for euphoria to happen. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
I mean, to be clear too, like I thought that there would be a move in Q1, Q2 of 2025, but I thought that the peak since 2022 was late 2025. I've
Yeah,
been saying that. So like November of 2025 versus 2026, I mean, you know what I mean? Like it's kind of potato in the
yeah,
grand scheme of thing.
definitely.
So yeah, that's
It just
yeah.
it messes with people,
Yeah.
psychologically, because um because I mean, Devin, if you're thinking end of 2025, which I am very open to, especially if Donald Trump's going to accelerate uh, things, maybe that's exactly how it lines up. Um, a lot of
Yeah.
people, what happened in 2021 was not that. What happened in
Yeah.
2021 was the peak of euphoria was second
April.
quarter of 2021,
Yeah.
and
April.
so yeah, there's a big letdown that's not what's happening right now, and I'm fully convinced that no matter what happens short term, I am a bull short term, that that second quarter of 2021 is not going to be the peak. It's just
No.
not. That we're going to peak after that.
No. I think there's going to be a run of sorts
Yeah,
between now and May, and still my main thesis is there's going to be a run of sorts between now and May, whether that is new all time highs or not. Time will tell. Then we're going to be boring in the summer months, June, July, August,
yeah,
September, choppy and boring. And then I think October we start to heat up again, and we probably peak in November. Is probably, but that could definitely bleed into 2026 for sure.
yeah.
I think it's a little bit more core. I was going to say one thing that I forgot talking about the 4-year cycle. The 4-year cycle to me, if you view the puzzle or the Rubik's cube of trying to crack Bitcoin and what it's going to do and the cryptocurrency markets. If you view it like a Rubik's cube or you view it like a puzzle that you're trying to solve, the 4-year halving to me is like a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the puzzle. And there's a lot of other factors um, that correlate to it. I think the 7-year cycle is a bigger factor than the 4-year cycle. I think that's a bigger piece. And I think the Dow Jones making an all time high. Typically, what we see is Bitcoin makes an all time high within 45 days of the Dow Jones making an all time high. That's more closely related than even the 4-year cycle. I think the 4-year cycle is a piece of the puzzle, but it's not the puzzle.
Yeah, a piece. It's a tool. It's not everything.
Yeah. Nothing is everything. Everything is something.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, good morning. Still keeping my Solnick for 20 years. So I can buy Devin a beer. Staking is coming out soon for Solnick. So we're working on that right now. We got a team of developers working on things. So that's going to be cool. And we have a big partnership that I've already signed the contract in. We're just kind of trying to time the market a little bit we're going to wait for a higher highs and higher lows, a confirmed break of downtrend, and then the partnership is going to be deployed, so to speak, so that we can try to time and ride the wave.
I have a question for you to post here. Is this just changing opinion on what happens until it's finally right? I want to address that. I mean, personally, on the larger scale, I have not changed my opinion. But here's something that I will say. So there's an account I follow on X who called the peak in December and has been a mega bear since then. And then recently he saw price action and for some reason decided, you know what, I actually believe that we're going to hit a new all-time high with Bitcoin, even though, I mean, he at one point he was like, this is going straight down. It's plummeting down way lower than any of you would expect. And then recently he's changed his tune and said, I think we're going to hit a new all-time high first for Bitcoin, and then we're going to plummet down. And I was really struck by something that a response that he gave to somebody commenting in the comment section of his tweet, which was like, what do you do? You're a flip flopper. Oh, you're such a flip flopper. And he was like, yes, duh. That's exactly what I am. I am not going to marry myself to any concept. I'm going to respond to where the market goes. And you want to call us a flip flopper. Market changes all the time. There's a comment. You want to call somebody who takes in new information and processes that information and then comes to a slightly different conclusion, a flip flopper. That's on you. All right. But that's what we have to do.
I would say,
and if we don't, we're going to go down with the ship.
Yeah, I would say so. Me nor Alex, like I've had the same thought since 2022. So I haven't changed my perspective at all. Um, and Alex has, as long as I've known Alex, it's been 2026. So
Yeah.
neither one of us has changed, but I would say like, yeah, you should be wary of those who are married to ideas and do not change their perspective based off of new ideas. You know what I mean? That's kind of weird if someone is like just so hell bent on being right and it doesn't matter what the data is and it
Yeah.
doesn't matter and they're not willing to change. Like that's just ignorant. Uh,
That's Capo. That's Capo in 2023. If you don't know who I'm talking about, Il Capo de Crypto has almost 1 million followers on X, the biggest grifter of all time. Everyone knows he's a pretender, and he had Bitcoin had to go down to $12,000, and he would not let go of that for how long? I mean, almost a year. As Bitcoin was climbing, it kept on climbing. It got up to $50,000, and he's still like $12,000. And those are the people you should avoid more than anyone
yeah,
else.
Alex and I both deal with a troll that this person was thought that we were going to $3,000 at 16,000, at 20,000, at 25,000, at 30,000. I didn't hear anything from them until this recent pullback from 109,000 back to 80,000. That's the first time like it's like they came out of hibernation or something like
Yeah.
that. But yeah, those are the type of people that do not change their opinions, and they exist on both sides of the aisle.
Oh yeah,
You don't want to be a bear or a
definitely.
bull. You want to be a freaking savage, man. You don't. Uh, Good morning. 72K first or 98? Do you know? 98 for me. 97 is the real number. But yeah, so that's a close one actually. 98 would be
Man,
more probable to me.
I have a lot more confidence if that number was
Right.
95. I would say I have a lot of confidence 95 first. 98, I would still say 98. Yeah, but just the level, the amount of resistance between like a 95 and 98 is
Even
rough.
72, I would say like if it were
Oh
75
yeah,
or 98.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I have more confidence in if the number was 96, I would be almost not guaranteeing, but pretty the closest thing that you can. But
yeah.
98, yeah, that's a decider. That's what I said. I think we're going to 96 or 97, and then we're going to decide was that a bear trap that we just experienced, or are we heading into a bull trap, or are we going to go into a bear trap? Because even at 96, 97, I do think there's going to be a bear trap if we're going higher, and there's going to be that was the bull trap if we're going lower. Rose, I like Rose. I mean, it hasn't been performing well.
Yeah.
One of the ones that I fumbled the hardest on both sides was Caspa,
Oh,
and I've talked about this a little bit, but I Caspa to me was my biggest like L on both sides. Um, whereas so first of all, let me just say about Caspa, I was aware of Caspa like right here, and I considered
oh
mining
man.
Caspa like right here. I was very aware of Caspa. I looked at everything and I just like, man, it's too early. I highly considered though putting my entire farm on Caspa right here, and I did not. And then Caspa went to do a 20x, while everything else was absolutely, completely, utterly dead. Caspa did a 20x, and then right here in November or December in this time frame, I was certain not certain, but I was fairly sure that this was the top for Caspa, and I thought that we would go back to 7.5 cents was my medium case, and then 5.5 cents was my worst case. Well, I moved off of that because I did not anticipate it to get a highly. This is a very healthy distribution, is what this is,
Oh
and
yeah.
this gives me long term hope for Caspa. But and I'll just show you, like this is, I mean, this is textbook. That's textbook distribution. The buying climax up
Yep.
thrust goes higher than the buying climax. UTAD goes higher than the up thrust. And then look, we went after all of that. A year and a half later, we went to my targets. So I say all that to say, Caspa, I have a lot of faith in. It hasn't technically broke the downtrend yet, but I'm cautiously dipping my toes with Caspa. I think it's going to do well. And I like this healthy distribution that gives me confidence and faith for the long term. When this breaks above this distribution, this is going to be support, and it's going to be a lot of support.
Yeah. I I have nothing to add to that aside from I saw Caspa pump like 25% yesterday, and I was eager to short it, but I didn't get it
Yeah.
filled. So woe is
Woe
me.
is me. Yeah, be cautious. Like, wait for it to. This is still technically a
Yeah.
downtrend, but I do think that this is the selling climax of Wyckoff, and then I anticipate some chop. That's what I anticipate. This is basically the move that I think Caspa is going to do, especially because it got this super healthy distribution. I think that that's a good sign for long term.
I have a question from my chat on TikTok here. Would you mine with GPUs at the moment? And that's something I know nothing about. But Devin, what's your thoughts on that?
I've sold most of my farm, and realistically, I've sold the bottom on GPUs. I know that, but the reason that I have is because I bought a farm and I'm not going to have the electrical infrastructure for it for like the next 6 months, and they're just going to be collecting dust. So I sold it for a bow and arrow, like a hunter's bow because I like to hunt and there's deer on my property. I sold
Nice.
it for a tractor that I have to replace the head gasket, and then I sold it for a gator and then some cash is basically what I traded my farm for. But I was mining Flux before I sold everything. But something that I considered looking into that I hear is more profitable right now than crypto mining is AI mining. So I
Oh,
don't know anything about that, but I considered doing a deep dive, but I just couldn't like spend. I didn't have it like a day to just like dedicate to trying to figure it out, which is what it is. It's like, it's a lot of trial and error. But from what I understand, AI mining, which is basically the idea of you lending your computational power to like ChatGPT or whatever else AI system, and then you're paid for that. From what I understand, is more profitable at this current moment.
okay. Good information.
But yeah, I am bullish on mineable coins for sure. As I do trust you as
All right.
influencers rare these days, but if things can always change, it makes uh, advice worthless unless we maybe know what needs to happen to push those narratives to change. Well, we're talking about the stipulations that we're looking for. I, like for me
Yeah.
personally, I'm outlining a best case scenario, worst case scenario. Here's what we're going to see either way. Here's the action that I'm going to be taking either way. If it's best case scenario, here's the action that I'm going to take. If it's worst case scenario, here's the action that I'm going to take.
I mean, I I disagree with that comment. That's a difficult one to deal with. It's like I think we both have enough of a track record to, you know, we both turned bullish at the bottom in 2022. We both took profits in December, despite our perspectives. So,
Yep. Uh,
but appreciate your kind words.
you added Caspa to your top three, not XYO. Let me clarify that video that I made. I have an entire list of coins that are my top value plays at this current level, at this current Fibonacci, at this current Wyckoff. What I was saying is, with this recent dip, XYO is already on the list for me. With this recent dip, here are the 3 coins that were not on the top value plays, but have dipped into a top value, and I'm basing that off of Wyckoff and Fibonacci. I consider anything below the 236 to be extreme value if they're good tokenomics. And what I was saying was, Caspa during the recent pullback pulled to my macro targets. And I was saying the other 2 were Link and ADA. They pulled back below the 236, so I added them, and I believe in them all long term. But XYO is already on the list. There's a whole, like, I have like 27 coins or 22 coins, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but there's 22 coins that I think have low to no inflation, good tokenomics, and are at a good place in Wyckoff and Fibonacci's.
All right.
Yeah, people were confused. People are like, why didn't you add Solnic? It's like, Solnic's already it's already there.
Must
This is
mention
a
Solnic every time.
It's like Solnic is already on the list.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at some comments here.
These are the coins that I added that were not on there that are now on there, that slipped into value. Extreme. So sorry if I did not clarify when I was making that video. Redstone. I looked at Redstone yesterday. There's not enough data for me to give you any projections on that, brother. Yeehaw! Thanks for the hat and mustache.
I saw a comment about White Rock. Just stay away from it. You know, it's been weird. It's been really interesting. It got up over $1 billion, and then all the stuff came out about Prometheus, one of the founders of Syncus. That news alone caused it to go to 300 million, and then last time I saw it was at 750 million market cap, and I'm like, my goodness, I wouldn't touch it anymore. You know, so. Another question about render. Were you going to say something?
Someone asked me about Solana, so I was just looking
Okay.
up the chart. But you could go ahead with that.
I just want to give some thoughts about AI cryptos that, at least AI cryptos that existed in 2024, before 2024. So, for example, Render. Render is the price of Render, at least, is very, very heavily influenced by NVIDIA. As NVIDIA goes, so will Render, AOs, Fetch AI. If you look at the NVIDIA chart a year ago at this time, I mean, it was off the chart. It was euphoria. It was just straight up euphoria. And then if you look at it now, it's just clear distribution, and it looks like it's peaked. And so because of that, I think AI cryptos as of right now are some of the worst plays. AI cryptos that went through the bear market, like Render, Fetch AI, et cetera, that went through the bear market are some of the worst plays, and they have further down to go than up. But that's not charting. That's just opinion. So,
To the person that asked me about Solana, I'm looking at the chart right now. It's at the bottom of the range. There's a lot of support here.
yeah.
I believe in Solana long term. And I think that this is a decent value. I've said that I don't think that Solana is going to these crazy numbers. I think $500, if we're lucky, is where it's going to go. But the ecosystem, from it doing even a 50% move, you're definitely going to feel that.
Yeah. I under this scenario that I shared in the earlier live stream about, like, you know, a short-term move to a lower high in the S&P, new all-time high of Bitcoin, potentially a new all-time high in the total 3. I don't think Solana would hit a new all-time high, but I did see it. What would you say about Solana? I mean, it's had 3 daily closes below, at least how I've drawn it out, a 1-year range, and we haven't seen multiple daily closes below this in over a year. And so in my mindset is, on a rally, I'm drawing fibs from where it is now to from the peak to where it is now, and I'm thinking like 618 or something, you know, around $200, a little over $200.
Well, I'm measuring it based off of market cap. To me, the market cap is the true price of a coin.
Yeah, that's
So
fair.
when we look at market cap, there's a little bit more support than the price because it's
Hmm.
a little bit of inflation. So it looks like on the price, it's sort of like at this last line of defense here, where market cap, it's kind of just in the meat of it. It did on market cap though. It did go to the macro 1618. So you could say like that was it for Solana. I don't think that that's it, but I do think I agree. Worst case scenario, it's gonna retrace to about $110 billion market cap, which I don't know what would put the price, but I think worst case scenario, that's what it's gonna get to. But I think that I think it'll make new all time highs late 2025 at worst. Is what I personally think.
Good call. I mean, either way, I think we're both in agreement. Like Solana's at a good value right now.
Yeah, it's a good value, short term or long term, depending on how you view it. Skis are worth on a coin like GRT to de-risk on a short term. I think yeah, I think you could definitely consider that. GRT is highly inflationary,
Yeah.
and I don't want to have coins that are highly inflationary in my portfolio personally. It's just too much math. It's too much bandwidth to figure out, and you're just fighting against the extra supply. It's a lose for you and a win for the creators. Um, so yeah, it's just it's an uphill battle with bad tokenomics.
I would say at this moment. So I've been thinking about how to navigate through this a potential reversal, which I think again I think Monday was a local bottom, and my strategy with trading at least is to stay the course. That we're in a downtrend on coins like GRT, and so I'm looking for shorts more than longs on GRT, and then when we see a reversal, what we're going to see is coins that are have more structure, have and better tokenomics that will reverse first, and that's my signal to stop shorting something like the graph. So
Yeah, I do think like when we do go into a proper bear market, I think just a blanket statement, like if you're doing low leverage shorts, like shorting the ones with high inflation, you're going to have a
yeah.
higher probability of winning.
Oh man.
Uh but yeah, in the event that Bitcoin goes to 96, 97, and you want to de-risk a little bit, it would probably make a move during that time to de-risk.
Yeah.
And you could hold a moon bag, but yeah, always, if you're overexposed to something or you put too much, take profits as you go up. Alrighty. All right, guys. Well, that's gonna be it for this time. We will be live. What is today? Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, we'll be live Friday. I don't know Alvarez. I don't know what's up with that. Maybe he will be here on Friday, but if not, me and Alex will be here. But yeah, make sure you guys like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube and TikTok and X. I'm also on Instagram and
Yes.
Twitch.
And my turn. We will not message you. My turn with saying we will not message you. If somebody messages you, it's in claiming to be us, it's somebody from Pakistan or Afghanistan or Kyrgyzstan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Turkmenistan, or Tajikistan, but not us.
Not us. We're not gonna message you. Yeah, it's funny. Like your profile picture is literally a text saying, "I will never message you," and the scammers still copy you.
Yeah, with that exact profile picture.
Oh my god! All right, guys. I appreciate you guys. Peace, love, prosperity.